I hate all this. I just want to disconnect from the world for like.
And then you saw a funny tweet I texted you. You said, "Fuck the world! Yes. I hate this phone."
Yeah. You were the one that broke the camel's back. Yep. But then I saw this movie, and everything changed.
Hello and welcome to the Sonic Movie Show, the only show that reviews every single video game movie. My name is Ethan, and with me always to sit here until dawn is Devin. Oh, I pointed in the right direction. Nice. I thought I was going to point that way.
Guys, I think you should see this.
Oh, wow, really?
That was the quote.
Yeah, no, I
from
just surprised your opinion is
from
straight
my
up
guy.
out there already. That's my
guy,
least favorite
Abe.
guy. Abe was his name? I thought his name was Dave.
No, you're thinking of David, friend of the show.
All right, sure. Yes, folks, hello, hi, welcome to the channel. Like I said, like, subscribe, and share, and all that stuff. We review video game movies. Occasionally new ones come out, and we review them, because usually our stuff is backlog stuff, right? We're talking Spirits Within. We're talking, like, not the first Mario movie, but, like, the one before that. You don't even know what one that is. We're doing all that stuff, and when new movies come out...
Or the ones that aren't available literally anywhere besides, like, Internet Archive.
Or the Pirate Bay. Well, which probably pulls from Internet Archive, to be fair. Yeah, we do all that stuff, and so, yes, this is a new movie that we're reviewing, so we're coming from the critical lens right here, right now, straight up. No spoilers yet. No spoilers yet. We'll tell you when we're going to spoil it. It's probably going to be, pretty soon. This is a video game movie based off the video game Until Dawn, made by Supermassive. Yes, Supermassive. Yep. Supergiant is the Hades Fire Transistor Bastion studio.
They really need to like get in a room together, and one of them needs to just cut off Super, or just stick with they both have to agree. I'm just going to be massive. I'm going to be giant, and we're just going to move on because it always is.
Yeah.
It always confuses us.
Yes, and that game was published by PlayStation, Sony, so that's why it is owned by them. This was back in 2014 on the PlayStation 4. It was one of the early, the PlayStation 4 has games, because PS3 has no games was a thing people said forever, and then PS4 didn't have games right out the bat, and same thing with Xbox One. PS4 has no games, but this was a game that people enjoyed, and I remember watching the Paris Games Week or Gamescom live presentation. Maybe it was PlayStation
G4.
Experience.
Just kidding.
Maybe it was G4.
G4 was dead. G4 was dead, I think.
But that's a different type of thing. But anyway, maybe it was PlayStation Experience where like, the dude's playing and he's listening to the audience. And I think they said we weren't planning on doing that, but they were like, do that. Like he was listening to the crowd, and because this was a story-based narrative slasher kind of game where you're like 8 jabronis in this cabin in the snowy mountains, and any of them could die, but they all could live, and that type of stuff. And you were making choices based off, that type of stuff.
Was Walking Dead out at this point yet?
The first season
around the same time.
First season of the
video
Telltale
game, I should say.
That was 2012.
Not the hit TV show based off the hit comic book series.
Yes. The video game started in 2012, but I think 2014 was when the second season came in. Second video game season.
I feel like that
the last one
that game. I mean, I have no proof of this. I'm just going off vibes and speculation. So feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, because I might be. I feel like the success of that game, because that Walking Dead, season 1 was highly rated, if I'm not mistaken, at the time. I feel like that inspired Until Dawn being made, probably, or at least
I could see that maybe. The only thing I think it was probably in development while The Walking Dead came out. The only reason why, and maybe this information's out there, we'll never know, because we're not going to look. But I remember it happened like a couple months ago. I don't know how this information got out. Maybe this was a big bad hack, and I don't know. But a leaked PlayStation 3 build of the game that used the PlayStation Move controllers happened. Like there's maybe an hour or two footage, straight gameplay footage of a PlayStation 3 version of this game. So it was in development for at least a couple years. But what I will agree with you on is the success of The Walking Dead was like, it is not a bad idea to make a game where you're kind of just making choices. Because that Telltale Walking Dead game was not the first Telltale game. They made a bunch prior. There was Jurassic Park. There was a Back to the Future. They had somehow the license to make Monkey Island game and Sam and Max and some of those, but they were way more puzzle, like the kind of bullshit point and click adventure games of like the toothpaste plus the airplane wing equals the solution. That type of none of this makes sense. The Walking Dead was weaning away from those puzzles, and it was more of just like, do you want James to die or Phil, whatever the character's names are, that type of stuff. So
or are you going to attack, or are you
that,
going to run away? Kind of, and that might impact later on. I'll say
this game, I think, definitely would not.
Yeah.
I don't think this game would have been made if that Walking Dead game was a failure. To your point.
I was just gonna say. I think I mentioned this when we did our video game movies that are coming out in 2025 episode, where we were talking about like our interest in Minecraft, Until Dawn, Silent Hill.
Yeah.
There's a fourth one that I feel like I'm missing. You remember it, audience. I know there's a fourth one.
Silent Hill was a maybe because we that's not confirmed.
Yeah,
but like,
Resident Evil.
No.
I
Minecraft.
don't know.
Until Dawn.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for the sake of what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter.
I'm looking this over.
I mentioned in that episode that I was like, I was very curious going into this movie because I felt Until Dawn and the other Supermassive games, the Dark Pictures anthology, but also the Walking Dead game. I felt that in terms of accessibility in gaming, in terms of like just a general person playing a game, I felt like they were one of the more accessible games. Oh my gosh, yes, Mortal Kombat. Should get a trailer, I think, probably.
And Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is supposed to be.
Oh yeah, that's right. So 5 of them. But yeah, I always felt that these games were more accessible, and I mean that in a good way. Where I guess I wouldn't mean that in a negative way either. I guess you would maybe interpret it as a negative way if you're like one of those like, I'm a hardcore gamer. Games should be difficult if they are difficult. Whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. But I like that these games are accessible, and I feel like that's why I was intrigued by this movie, because I'm just like, the game isn't necessarily super challenging in my eyes to play, compared to like my argument for like the Last of Us show existing would be like, hey, I think it's cool to want to tell this story for people who maybe can't play The Last of Us, because that game is, I think, for a general person to maybe pick up, might be difficult for them to play.
It's also a giant cost barrier as well.
That as well. So I was very intrigued going in this movie to kind of tie it back to our non-spoiler thoughts to this movie. I was very intrigued going in for the sake of, I'm like, how will people interpret this? Like, what would a general audience member be interested in if they knew this was from a game? Because I feel like they kind of marketed this from the trailers and whatnot as your just general horror movie, to get just a general horror fan to come in. I think you could go into this without knowing anything from the games and be like, okay, yeah, this is a horror movie, right? Like, they didn't need to be like based off the hit video game series. They could just advertise it as.
Right.
So even the title alone sounds like a cool horror movie, right? Until Dawn. So it isn't like
one of those names, by
like
the way.
The Last of Us was like, they definitely marketed it at first like based off the hit video game. You know what I mean? And
yeah. I just
there's a difference there.
Looking at this title, which is actually floating behind us a lot right now, I'm like, Until has 2 L's, right? Right? It's one of those words where it's like the more you look at it, the more you're like, no, this does not look how it should look. There are a lot of words that are like the Until. Well, to speak on that, I actually had an issue recently at work when I was trying to write till something, like till the start of the day or till the end of the day. And I'm like, I had to Google it, and I felt dumb for Googling it, but I was second guessing it. Because I'm like, I know till like the name, like Till Lindemann from Rammstein, which little not Easter egg, but a little fact, Peter Stormare, who's in this playing Dr. Hill, who's in the Until Dawn games, you might have thought that was going to be the fact, but the fact is he's actually in Till Lindeman's music videos for his solo work. So he tied that all back to Ethan's comment about Until Dawn. Oh, so he started low and then found real work. I gotcha. That
I
was
think
the
he
joke.
already did he did a lot before that. It was like
Yes,
recent-ish, actually.
Yeah, I looked at that dude's IMDb page, and he has credits back to the 70s. Yeah, no, like there's only one Until Dawn game because after that 2014. Well, no, actually, I take that back completely. It's installed on my hard drive. There was that VR game Until Dawn: Rush of Blood where you're in like a minecart and you got like shotguns. It was basically Sony being like, make a thing with this. And I
Yeah.
think Supermassive did make that game, but then they went on to make. They published or they partner with other publishers, Bandai Namco with the Dark Pictures, smaller Until Dawn style games, and then 2K with The Quarry. But then they also
Yeah.
made a few VR games that I think Sony published and stuff like that. Last year, Sony got another studio that his name is escaping me to do an Unreal Engine 5 remake of Until Dawn that is a little iffy like on like the production and like performance of that game is a little iffy.
Just like the first game, which is funny.
People when this remake came out, people were like, "Oh, this is 30 frames per second. The original was 60." Like, no, it wasn't.
No,
No, it
wasn't.
literally
I remember
wasn't.
playing it.
It was
I
worse
was
than
playing
30.
it.
It was. It felt like a PlayStation 3 game, in that like it was just struggling somewhere in the 20s the entire time, and you just dealt with it. But that game was so long ago that hey, maybe it is fine for that it's remake because we don't clearly remember something as basic as how it felt to play it. But I never touched that. I will say I played Until Dawn. I don't know how long, maybe a third, maybe only a quarter, and then just kind of fell off. It wasn't really for me, but I respect the idea. And for folks that maybe don't know, the whole idea, I think I said this earlier in the episode, but there's, like the bunch of these, college-aged kids, and one of them is like a rich kid who's played by the creepy guy from Mr. Robot that show. He's been in other things since then. And then Hayden Panettiere from Hero, she was the cheerleader, was in it as well. And, any of them could die, but they all could live, and your choice is butterfly effect. The butterfly was huge symbolism in that game. Surprised to not see that in this movie.
Rami Malek, that's his name. I was blanking on his name.
I knew his name.
He actually makes a cameo,
or
he's referenced later, in, I guess, light spoiler. He's referenced very briefly.
Maybe,
sorry, that was the only only spoiler I'll give out before we really get into spoilers. But
well, and that's the thing, and we'll get into this right now. The game is a different story than this movie.
Yeah,
there is one thing that's connecting them, sort of. But I also want to say again, I never finished the game. I never played the remake, and I guess the remake, I watched it, so I know, has a post-credits scene that teases a sequel to that game's story. It would be actually kind of neat if like it ran a trailer for the movie. I don't know, as its post-credits thing. Yeah. Like, look, this other thing is happening. How much of the game did you play? Did you enjoy it? All that stuff. Like before we get into this.
This is one of the few times I think I've, in terms of like a franchise, I'm calling it a franchise just because of what you said earlier, where like the Dark Pictures anthology and the Quarry. I've played Until Dawn probably once or twice. I've also seen like a bunch of Let's Plays of it because at the time that was like Let's Play era. That was like a go-to for a lot of people. Or some people would do multiple playthroughs trying to save everybody, or doing like a quick death run where you can beat the game in 3 hours by purposely letting everyone die, which is always fun. So I played Until Dawn. Me and Bryn played it together the one time, and I think I played it by myself at one point. I played like 3 out of the 4 or 5 Dark Picture anthologies. The first 3 I definitely played. I don't remember the names of them. They were okay.
Man of Medan was the first one.
That one was there was one where they're in
House
Afghanistan.
of Ashes, The Devil Inside Me.
Yeah, The Devil Inside, I think, was the last one I played. But then I played The Quarry. Played The Quarry on PS5. And I think that's the last one I played. But I played a good chunk of them. I know what these games are about. And to me, these games, like what the spirit of these games are, to me, is just... like the choose your own adventure books that like I don't know if you ever read any of those when we were growing up, but I remember
Yeah.
those are the ones I would like. Goosebumps I think had some spin-offs, or maybe not Goosebumps, but like they were horror ones where like flip to this page to find out what happens next, or you know what I mean, and you can backtrack if you feel like you made a mistake, or it says you know you died or whatever. I think Goosebumps did some of those. I was a Goosebumps kid.
Hmm.
That to me is like what these games are in like in terms of the spirit of these games. I also feel like these could be good party games because you can finish the games in roughly 6-7 hours. So like if you had you and your friends over for a Halloween party, you know, and I think there's different settings you can do where like you could turn off the time sensitivity on them, so like
Oh,
you and your friends can vote on it. I think I'm pretty sure.
I will say
Um,
just to cut in, Supermassive did make a game that was this style but party like that I own and I barely played. Because Sony had on PlayStation 4 a limited run gimmick idea of smartphone integration games, which they called Playlink. They have a banner on, like underneath the PS4 banner on the box art. So this is Playlink. And Supermassive made a game called Hidden Agenda that I played like once, like for a little bit with a couple people, and none of us were really all that interested in it. But it was that idea where like you're voting on your phone, what happens, type of thing.
yeah,
But
yeah. To me,
yeah,
I mean, like it's not Jackbox, but I still think you could have friends over, and it's easy enough to go through. To me, yeah, it's like the Goosebump books are just a party game ish, but you also can play by yourself, and there's some replayability with it. You know, compared to some other narrative games where something you know you beat it and that's it. Maybe
yeah,
you
just
replay
that
it
pitch of
with
like
some
they all can die, but they all can live inherently makes you want to
yeah.
play it again. If you know if it
And I
really
think
got your
if you're
hooks
a
in you.
fan of just slasher movies in general, you might find this entertaining. You know, to a certain degree. I always will say that the gore in the games are pretty creative. I guess if you're into that kind of stuff. You know, it's not super. I mean, it's grotesque. I don't know. Comparing it to like Mortal Kombat, I guess it's not the same. But for like your a horror movie, like a general one, I feel like it's pretty decent. And we can talk a bit more, and once we get into spoilers in terms of like I call it gore porn. I mean, I think horror fans call it gore porn in general. Of like, there's some people who are really into that, like in terms of to the point where it's satirical or comedic versus movies like I would also consider this gore porn, but more on the opposite end, where it's not a satirical way, but more of a traumatic way, which is like Midsummer uh, has some pretty gnarly shit to the point where like Bryn has asked me, "Can we watch that movie?" And I'm like, I gotta be in like in the right mood for that. Like I have to be like mentally like okay with that because that movie is kind of a fuck you movie in a way. It's good, very
Hmm.
fantastic, but it's one of those movies I'm like I saw it once, I don't it's not one of my go-to like rewatches versus movies like we were talking before we got on call here, Dead Alive by Peter Jackson, one of his earlier works before he did Lord of the Rings, where it is over the top, where the character gets a lawnmower and like goes through a crowd of zombies, and it's just blood spewing everywhere. It's not like I guess you can find it gross, but to me, it's and to other horror fans, I would say this: it's like a level of satire there or comedy where it's just like okay, like obviously this isn't super realistic. Quentin Tarantino, I would argue, and maybe not in a horror sense, but he's known to like over the top with his blood, and I
Sure.
think because there's a comedic element to it, or it's just like, okay, that's funny, whatever, or like that's unrealistic that it isn't as gross anymore, if that makes sense. So, but I feel like Until Dawn that is a staple where it's like when these characters do die in different parts of the game, they have different types of deaths, and like so like there's more replay value in that sense too, where it isn't just getting them to the end, but maybe like okay, I know how they die if they first encounter this, but maybe if I let them survive enough and then they encounter that one part which I succeeded last time, and let's say they need to jump across like a gap or something, you know, and I mess it up on purpose, like what does that death look like? So I guess there's element to that. So with all that said, yes, I've enjoyed the Until Dawn series or just super massive games. I'm not going to say I've always been blown away by them. I feel like there's some either technical issues where the game doesn't run as well, or maybe some story elements feel choppy at moments.
Okay.
I still think Until Dawn's probably my favorite of the series, which is, I think it's just because the other ones are shorter and don't have as much momentum, or they have one idea and that's kind of it. Like there's Until Dawn has a couple different layers to it, which I found interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, just looking at Dark Pictures, published by Bandai Namco, and they're almost Supermassive is almost in like a From Software kind of vein, where like they've had stuff published by different people. So like I'm on the darkpictures.com and they say our games, but it's literally just the games that are published by Bandai Namco. You know what I mean? That could be a part of that. There were 4 of them: Man of Medan, Little Hope, House of Ashes, The Devil in Me, and then also
so I played Little
PlayStation
Hope, not
VR
Devil
2. There's a PlayStation VR 2 game called Switchback, and then that was like season 1, and they were going to or still are doing a season 2. And the premiere game, it looks like the branding of Dark Pictures is removed, but Directive 8020, it's like a sci-fi. She's in a spacesuit. This was at the Game Awards last year. You would recognize it if you saw imagery.
I didn't remember offhand, but
but that doesn't have any of the Dark Pictures branding on it, but that's supposed to be this year. So Supermassive's doing their stuff there. But this is, PlayStation owns Until Dawn. So this is them doing what they want with this. To my knowledge, Supermassive doesn't have anything to do with this. And I don't know if they would want to return to Until Dawn. That teaser of a new game, at the end of the remake, that could be just Sony being like, we have a team, maybe it's this team that made the remake, they're just gonna do it, but now that we've talked about the games, and we have different perspectives on them, because I will say I don't really care I really need to be in a mood to play one of these types of games. The Telltale stuff, like, I barely played a lot of them because it was like, am I in the mood for this? I own like most of them, even the prior ones before The Walking Dead, but I'm like, I need to be in a mood to play a game where I'm not playing a game. You know what I mean? And like,
right.
And so like I don't really get into them a whole lot, but I respect, especially Until Dawn, like on the bigger scale of when they do it seemingly right. Games aside, now we watched this movie. We are maybe a half an hour into this episode, maybe 20 minutes. We talked a lot before we actually hit play on this episode. Okay, straight up, this movie has nothing to do with the game besides a literal element that we might consider a spoiler, but just thematically as well. What did you think about this? Because I will just say, watching like the second trailer, where they're like, "Oh, we're dying and we're all coming back," I remember being like, "Oh, how clever! It's like a video game type of thing." But the more I kind of thought about it going into the movie, I'm like, well, what does it have to do with Until Dawn? I guess you replaying the game, you know what I mean? Maybe, but that's not what happened in the video game. So it did feel, to me, as I thought about it again, watching the movie, more of just like, well, this is just like a different thing. This is just like a horror movie like idea that might have been done before. Who knows? Less of like a tie to the video game, besides the idea of like you're playing characters, and when you die, you get to start back over at a checkpoint, or you get to reload a save file. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or you get to play the game again and make different choices. What did you think about just this movie, non-spoilery overall?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of with you going in, where out of when we did our 2025 video game movies that were interested or not interested in, just like what are coming out, this was probably the top one outside of Silent Hill for me, just in terms of.
Man, I heard you shouting "chicken jockey" from several states away.
You're right. You're
Minecraft.
Right. Yeah, I knew it was Minecraft. No, like outside of Silent Hill, this was probably up there of like in terms of interest. I'm not gonna say like hype, but just like interest of like, okay. But I'm also a horror movie kind of junkie. I haven't seen every horror movie, but my goal is to say I have when I'm 95 years old. But no, I enjoy horror. It's probably my favorite genre of movies. I love the thrill of movies. I have my particular taste in horror movies, but I also respect a lot of subgenres under horror movies. So yes, I went in with the same kind of idea that you had, where it's like, okay, this is going to be a twist on it. I was worried watching when we were beginning to watch the trailer. I'm like, okay, it's just going to be new characters, but like they're going to, go through a similar storyline, but not the same, but maybe inspired by it Until Dawn and maybe some of the other ones loosely. And yeah, so going in, that was my interpretation. But once I saw that twist, I'm like, okay, because that is I don't know what to call that in horror movies, but there is some horror movies that have like a gimmick to them, and like this is the twist. We're gonna tell you what it is, but then it's fun to watch. And to me, the twist of they kind of respawn, or at least they relive the same night over and over again, Groundhog's Day style, I guess.
But also not.
But not. But Groundhog's Day, let's just say. It was interesting, and for a type of movie like that, I think you need to have it just be fun and not too serious. I feel like when you have a twist like that, you know, the audience wants to have fun with it, right? They want to kind of enjoy it. To me, this movie, I think, does a decent job of using that gimmick. I think there's one part in it that, when we do spoilers, that kind of disappointed me with the gimmick, or at least how it was used. But the general idea was, I think, pretty decent, and it's executed decently. This movie, to me, is I'm going to use the word haunted house, but not in a paranormal sense, like this is a paranormal movie, but rather haunted house in the sense of, like, you go to Disney World, you go to the Haunted Mansion, and you're going on a roller coaster, you're experiencing it with the characters, you're being guided through it, and that's what makes it fun. So if that's the type of horror movie you're into, I would say check this out. I think it's decent. I'm not going to say it's like on a horror movie scale. It's like a top tier one for me, or like a necessarily super memorable one. I would only recommend it if it's like you've seen other movies like this where there is like a gimmick to it, or a kind of roller coaster element to it, and I think that's where slasher movies kind of, I would put in that bubble. Not all of them, but some of them, where it's like, most of them are going to die at some point, but then, there's going to be the final girl or something. If you're into that, slashers aren't my personal favorite of horror movies. I am kind of picking on them, but I generally enjoy them for what they are and what their goal is. And I feel like that's what they try to follow with this, but just with that twist. And so for me, my overall thoughts are just, this is a solid horror movie. I don't know if it's going to be memorable. Like, and we go back for let's say the 2020s, it's 2030. I'm looking back at horror movies from this past decade.
Probably, I don't know if it's going to be on the platter there, right?
It's not going to be on the platter. But doesn't mean, I don't think this movie is necessarily like awful either. Like, I think it's just I would see this on the Sci-Fi Channel, or on this will be on what's it called?
Chiller?
What's it called? Chiller. I almost said Shriller, like Skrillex. I think it's on Chiller. I don't know. Now I'm second guessing myself. Whatever. It's going to be on Amazon Prime.
It's a streaming channel service.
Yeah. It's going to be on Amazon Prime in October, and then that's a good time to watch it. That's my kind of recommendation. If you're a horror movie fan, you'll probably see this anyways. Like, just because there's not that many every year that make the movies.
Shudder.
So. There it is, Shudder.
It's called Shudder.
Chiller.
There we go. I was saying chiller, but that doesn't mean anything.
Chiller. I thought it was chiller. Like you're getting chilled. But yeah, I think that's my thoughts. Is Until Dawn. If you're a horror movie fan, you'll probably already see it, because, like I said, there's not many horror movies that get to the big screen, so you'll probably just see it for that. But if you're kind of a general, maybe you see a couple movies every year, this probably isn't going to be on your radar. Because guess what is doing really well and is a horror movie? Arguably the best horror movie in the last 10 years. Yeah, Sinners is doing really well in the box office. So you're probably going to see that this weekend, not Until Dawn.
Yeah, well, and also that movie's a bit of an anomaly in the sense that it has a gigantic budget, which this movie has $15 million as its budget.
That makes sense.
I will say I'm not that big a fan of horror movies. It's not that, like, I can't handle being scared or anything like that. I just don't like movies that are trying to scare me. I don't know, there's something about it, I'm like, I just don't want this. I just don't want this. So that was like my mindset going into this, being like, this isn't going to be something I'm going to like. And to kind of maybe skip ahead to the end of what I'm saying, because to piggyback off what you're saying about like, oh, if you're a big horror movie fan, like maybe see this if you want to watch a gimmick movie. I will actually also say in a different angle, if you don't really watch any of these movies and you want one that it's not going to feel like it's like all the others, it's got a gimmick that you might enjoy, because I didn't dislike the gimmick. I don't really like how they used it really at all. Besides like one cycle night, whatever we'll call it, that I'm like, okay, this one time was fine, but we'll get into that later. So yeah, I don't really like being scared of movies. A lot of it's just like, come on. Like, I am the person who isn't like, you're an idiot for not going in the thing. Whatever. I'm not one of those people. But I am just like, come on, why are we doing this? Why do we need to do it this way? Do you need to be doing this? But I'm also someone that this happened to me when I moved out of state and was near no one. Yeah, you technically, but like near no one. And you've everyone has had this. No one, you can admit to it. It's fine. Getting that like not sleep paralysis like demon type of feeling, but like maybe you watched a scary movie or something. You get this feeling like, oh, what if there is someone in my bedroom right now waiting to get me? you get these feelings, every now and then. We're like, oh, and I developed this like. When I moved, being like, well, fuck it, I'm going out punching, and like maybe like an idiot, the couple times this happened to me,
you're that
I've
guy.
turned a corner and I've thrown a punch. I'm gonna say this: I've thrown a punch at nothing, because I'm like, fuck this. That's the attitude I've got. I'm not letting them get me. So when I watch some of these movies, I'm like. And this will never happen to me, I hope. I hope something like this.
I hope not.
So I don't really know what it feels like. But part of me is like, no, I will go and fuck up that guy. Or I will die trying, I guess. Because what else is the point? That's the kind of weird mentality I've like clicked myself into.
You're a fight and not a flight person. I'm definitely the flight person.
If it actually happened for real, I would probably freeze up. I'm not saying, but that's the mindset I'm going into watching this movie, where I'm like, dog, there's 3 of you in this room. Just jump the motherfucker at the whatever, maybe towards the beginning. That's just the thought I have. So like going into this movie, there's a lot of like maybe undeserving, like, oh, come on type of things. But I also don't like getting scared, so part of that's also me being like, if you do what I say, then we skip the part, you know what I mean?
Right.
Why can't one, like, what if one of you was like the Human Torch and you just burst into flames, and you'd be safe? I also have that thought I've had.
What if one of you just had a gun?
Well, yeah, obviously. Oh no, but then it
is
work,
funny.
and...
This happens. This isn't. I'm not really a spoiler. But this happens so much now in modern movies, and that's why I'm kind of a fan of movies that just purposely take place not in our time, because they always have to add. And I wish they didn't. The phones don't work. I'm like, I get it. You feel like you need to put in there, but like, because there's gonna be that one guy in the crowd who's like, bro, just call for help. Call for help. And like, I wish we would just stop. I wish we would just stop and move on, and we just never acknowledge that yes, they could just call for help. Like, we're watching a horror movie. Suspend your disbelief for a second.
Because also, stay the fuck together is such an easy thing as well. But someone has to say something mean, so the other person says, fuck you, and then they run off type of,
It's a trope. It's a trope. But
I will say how they say the phones don't work is lazy. Oh, I don't have a signal. It's just like literally it.
I've seen it in multiple movies, and I wish at this point they would just ignore it completely.
Make them explode.
Who gives a fuck?
Make the phones blow up. They walk in, bam, 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 like something exploded.
We left all our phones, or just make it super funny, where it's just like, oh shit, we all left our phones in the car. Fuck.
And the car drove away or something.
And I left my car in neutral, and it's now rolling down the hill, and then it blew up. Fuck. Like, just let's get it. Like, if you're gonna do it, let's make it like ridiculous as possible. Who cares?
You know what? Then you also, start the movie with 8 characters, and you left 5 of them in there, or 3. Whatever, and like, yeah, they all die immediately. I don't know, whatever. Now we're writing fan fiction at this point for this movie.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so I will just say, I think this movie, So I just wanted to. I had to preface all of this to make sure that like my biases and all that stuff were out there, so people can take. When I say this movie, I think is maybe just fine, but like not in a negative way. It's like it's okay, sure, okay, sure. It's an okay, sure kind of movie for me. There's parts that I just don't like at all, that I think actually are fundamentally maybe wrong with the movie. And I have my thing about like not liking being scared in a movie at all. Like I want to fuck people up. Maybe it's because I played too many goddamn video games where like, yeah, these guys are scary, but I can shoot them. I have a gun.
I have a sword.
Yeah. I mean, like one of the first games I ever played that was scary to me was not a horror game. It was Metroid Prime on the GameCube because I was like 8 and it was rated teen, and the guys were scaried. And if I died, I had to start over from a save point. That's what Resident Evil did really well, right?
I mean, to be fair, I feel like you have played some horror games like Prey,
for sure, but it's
Resident
different.
Evil.
But it's different because I can fuck them up. That's
You can fuck
different.
them up.
I don't really have as a desire to play like Outlast or something where all you do like there was that actually around this time 2014 where like horror games used to be like Resident Evil or Silent Hill where like limited ammo and you're really trying to just barely make it through shooting combat. And then like all these indie ones came out. They're like, what if we just ran all the damn time from things? And isn't that like funny, scary, or whatever? I never got interested in any of that type of stuff because it's like, well, what if I was a cool guy named Leon Kennedy? All right, and I had to find Joe Biden's
Leon
daughter.
S. Kennedy.
Yeah.
What does S stand for? Did they ever say?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Because I'm trying to think of an S name now, and I just
Siobhan.
Sam, maybe?
Ashley Siobhan Biden. There we go. Canonically, because the remake came out during that presidency, his Biden.
I do like, I forget the guy's name who made it, but he does all the weird, like, creepy YouTube, like, poop equivalent of, like, animated creatures, or animated just skits. Like, he's done one about mostly conservatives, but he did one for with Resident Evil or whatever, where Leon talks to Biden and like says like, "Oh, it's pretty fucked up."
I watched that.
It's pretty effed up that like all this problems actually stem from like American Empire, and then he's like, "I'm just kidding." And then it was like they're actually buddies.
I remember watching that.
Yeah, the guy who made that.
That remake tastefully has Leon know Spanish, because he talks to the crazed guy at the beginning instead of in the original. I don't know if you remember. He kicks that door down, sees the guy, and just starts blasting. It's like, you just killed someone. You don't know if anything was wrong. He lived in a shitty house, but like that's not his fault.
I would like a remake of the game where he still does an action, and then the town is like not crazy. They're just really pissed off at him, and then he just has to go to court or something. Like it's just like, why'd you do that?
I mean, it feels like that was that dumb Marvel show WandaVision, where at the end of the day, the whole town's just mad at her because she sucks ass. Within the context of her choices, this game is all about choices. This movie, however, felt like it gave our cast no choices to make. So that is another thing I want to say about this before we get into the movie as well. One of the criticisms I have is that your gimmick wasn't used as effectively as I think you could. You had a lot to work with, and and we'll get into it later. I guess I would be spoiling it, but like underutilized. These characters feel like they don't have a choice until the only choice is presented to them. Which, playing off your source material, you could have maybe done a little bit more like that. I would have loved if maybe there were secretly 2 or 3 versions of this movie where some scenes are a little bit different because of choices being made. I guess maybe that is cool. The case. We don't know for sure. But no,
I think Black Mirror just did that recently, where like some episodes people watch have different endings just to fuck with people because I think the whole episode's about gaslighting, which is crazy.
I had a dream that I was like about Black Mirror. Never seen any of the shows because that's something else that doesn't interest me. Being like looking at like maybe a Wikipedia list of the episodes, and oh my god, one of them. Fuck, what was one of them was called Ask Chat GPT, and I'm like, yeah, that's right, because it sucks. That was my dream. Like the first season had a thing about that. But yeah, no, like in a game that your choices matter, the butterfly effect. This movie didn't, for me, feel like they had choices to make
I think there was a couple instances, but I generally agree with you.
But in
I think there was
horror movie type of stuff.
Yeah, there was one I think scene where I feel like they were trying to like really do it, which we can talk about in the spoiler half. But other than that, I agree. All right, spoilers.
Do we recommend this movie? No. Yes or no? Put your thumbs up if you think. I guess binarily I would say yes. Binary, up or down.
Yeah, sure. I mean, most times I know I'm going to say yes. I'll say that. I feel like unless it's like a D or below.
Watch it when you're bored and it's on Netflix or something, which
I said, it's going to pop up on Amazon Prime. You can lock it in. It'll be a Prime free one in October.
Oh, in a week it'll be on there to buy, I'm sure.
For $40 or whatever how much it is just to rent it or whatever. Yeah.
And I will I will pre-order the Steelbook that'll be like $50 and then cancel that a month before it comes out because I'm like, why am I doing this? I just did that with the two Sonic 3 Blu-rays, the Steelbooks, the Sonic version and the Shadow version, because they were like $40 each. I'm like, why am I doing this? I can get these on eBay for cheaper later down the line, if they're gonna stop making them. So okay, we said yeah, sure, why not? Spoiler time. Spoiler time. You wanted to get into something, so here's the floor for you.
Yeah, with your comment about like that you felt like the characters didn't have choices. So there was, and that's the spirit, one of the spirit elements of the game, right? Where you're making choices throughout. You can make wrong ones. Sometimes they feel like the right one, but actually do wind up being wrong.
Butterfly would appear.
Butterfly
when a critical
effect
thing had happened. Based off your choices.
I've never seen the movie Butterfly Effect. My mom had it on DVD, and my dad says, "Oh, it's for adults." So I had never seen it.
The first two DVDs we had, my mom bought 2 DVDs. The first 2 DVDs we had, one of them we mentioned already. First one was Clockwork Orange, which I was not allowed to watch, obviously,
definitely
as a child. The second one,
that would have messed
Groundhog's Day.
Oh, okay.
So watching that movie a lot, actually maybe not like the movie.
That's a spectrum, actually. I feel like you can use that to, in some way. I don't know how, but you feel you can use that. Be like from Groundhog's Day to Clockwork Orange. I rate this movie. I feel like you could weirdly that could work in some way.
The third DVD we had, a Winnie the Pooh episode collection thingy.
Nice.
But not the Winnie the Pooh I grew up watching. This was like
not my
fuzzy 3D puppetry Winnie the Pooh, which I didn't care for.
Huh.
Yeah.
So there's one scene, I want to say maybe, it's hard to know at what point, and this is a good thing that I didn't know how long we were into the movie, which means I was somewhat invested, I felt like. But I want to say maybe close to the halfway part, it's the first time they encounter the serial killer guy who looks somewhat similar to the serial killer in Until Dawn. Yeah. Obviously an homage there. He's already killed 2 of them, but then it's after he pokes the eye out of the one guy. What's his name? I have it right here. Max. He pokes the eye out, which I thought was one of the better ones. I'll say one of the better kills. If you're into the gore porn, it's one of the better kills there, where it's simple but effective. Where the eyeball's still on the knife there, or the steak, whatever it was.
I'm agreeing as I shake my head because I'm not a fan.
Yeah. But while that's happening, you have Clover and Megan. Megan's hiding in the closet, and Clover's hiding on the side. But actually the Max part is related because they're both hiding there originally, and Max fuck it, I'm going for an attack. And I feel like they are trying to, even the camera angle remind me of the game, where it's if you're playing as Max there, it'll be do you try to hide?
Cursor to here or here.
Are you gonna try to hide, or are you gonna attack with the knife or whatever he had? Yeah. And so you do that, and then the other 2 are she I think could either stay hiding, or she's gonna grab the knife. And then they had Megan in the closet, and that's a classic Until Dawn thing, where it was always the bullshit where it's don't move your controller when you're because you're holding your breath. But there was definitely times where you thought for sure you were holding that controller, so you never knew how sensitive it was, which was, and I think maybe in the later games they had one where it was sound based. I'm not sure, where the microphone would maybe pick up if you're trying to be quiet yourself. So I feel like that scene was them really trying to show how it looked in the game, but then they really never do it again. And that's where I agree with you. I think outside of that one part where I'm okay, This
That
is
was
the
the
game.
part where I was like, y'all, jump the motherfucker. Like, just jump the motherfucker. Just do it. You watched him kill 2 people.
I think I would have been Max,
but-
low key. I think in that situation, if I felt like if I could make a stealth blow, but I'm also gonna run. He tried to like stay there, and I'm like, no, I would have. If I'm gonna attack, it's a drive by. It's a drive by. I'm going for like. I'm gonna try to gut him with. I can run. I'm gonna run by with the knife. I'm just gonna go for a quick jab and sprint down the hall like that. That'd be my go. If I'm gonna attack, if I'm in a corner, that's what I'm gonna do.
See, I would take out my shield, like in Dark Souls, and I would parry his blow, all right? And then while he would give me an opening, because he would play with it, and he would give me the opening. It's only fair. I parried it. Then I would stab him in the stomach.
Stab him.
And, like,
then make sure you got to roll back immediately, though. You got to roll back. You got to be frame perfect there, because he's actually going to come down, or he's going to kick you. So that was like the one part. But then I generally agree where like, and this is one of my biggest issues if we want to talk about the gimmick itself, right? Of every time they come back, but they're like, they look like they're injured, or at least have some elements, and they're actually slowly changing into the Wendigo creatures, your Slendermans there. And what I didn't like about it was I didn't mind it, like the pacing of it, and I thought they were like, okay, we're gonna die, but I wish they would show more progression. I feel like they kind of just play dumb every night for the most part, and then we get like basically oh fuck, we want them to live like 13 times, but we don't want this movie to be too long, so we kind of just jump cut, and we're like, oh yeah, all of them lost their memory, but one of them had their cell phone, and they recorded everything, and they watched back, and I'm like,
those seem to be the fun ones too, which made me mad. The big thing in the hallway, I'm like, I get it, maybe for budget reasons, you're like, let's just throw that in the thingy. But, like, I would have loved, honestly, to see that thing hunt them down. That felt more Silent Hill,
I'm really bummed that in the trailer they briefly show it was, like, the big, like,
thing.
Well, that, and then the Cloverfield almost kaiju outside in the tree line, and then they're like, okay, we're just going to go back. I thought that was going to be a whole scene where like they're trying to dodge it on the road, and it eventually like catches and eats them or something. I'm just kind of.
By the way,
I find
that far less scary than any of this stuff. Like big monsters.
I don't find it scary. I just find it cool. To me, it's like dinosaur movie, like Jurassic Park's the same thing. I'm like, this is cool.
Dinosaurs scare the shit out of me. Jurassic Park, the original movie, scared the shit out of me.
Really?
As it was intended to.
I mean, it wouldn't scare me in the same way as like, I don't know, I find more paranormal, like when honestly, one of the more scary parts in this movie for me was the door slamming by itself. I know it's simple and it's been done before, but like I've always found that like that creeps me out more because it's something we all have in our house.
There was a guy there, but there isn't. It was on.
Yeah, like that's scarier. There was, but going back to the gimmick though, like that was my biggest issue. Is like I feel like they were building up in a good way, and I get like you don't want to spend like 20 minutes on each night, but like at least, or maybe they should have made it it's 7 days instead of 13. I get the number, haha, but like, or make it 6, maybe the devil's number or whatever. They think they should just did it's 6 nights or whatever, and then have it each night maybe be 15 minutes, but they're solving more clues, or maybe they're
learning information, doing something with.
They learned some information, but then we had Abe there, which I know you didn't like his character. I didn't mind his character because he reminds me.
You're not supposed to really like him.
Yeah, he's a douchebag, but like you kind of need him to be blunt at certain situations. But actually, there's an issue. Not his fault, but the writing's fault, where I feel like him and his girlfriend there, Nina,
which I thought her name was something else when she was writing.
I was waiting for more conflict to happen, and it just never does, because she stabs him with a pickaxe, and then like he doesn't bring that up ever again. And I feel like that was a missed opportunity to have him maybe turn into one of the creatures early or something like that, where he becomes a villain that they need to kill, and then that's the one guy that kill whatever.
Speaking about him, real quick, if I can bring this up, maybe it sucks as I'm watching this movie, I'm like, I would write a joke here. Maybe this is Marvel-esque shitty jokes, but like
you got Marvel.
The one where where like, she hits him with the pickaxe. We get to a moment later where like they're just together and he's bleeding out, blah blah blah. I would have thrown in a joke there of him saying like, "How did we die last time?" Because that's when they all exploded and he was the first one. I would have been like, "Oh, you exploded. We all just blew up one by one."
Yeah, yeah.
Like I would have, I don't know, because parts of this movie wanted to be a little funny like that, and that explosion, night cycle, whatever, was the only one where I'm like, I liked this one as an isolated thing. Because my whole problem with this gimmick is the thing that they wanted to avoid. I wish it was consistent. I wish it was an actual loop. Because that would have made it more interesting. Because then our characters would have been making choices. And when they bring that up, like they jump to the conclusion of, oh, it's to keep us afraid. The answer is, oh, so it makes you helpless because you don't know what you're supposed to do, and then we all die. Like, I wish it was like, you've played video games or have seen or have heard of or maybe watched video games or like, I've been playing through Blueprints is kind of like that in a sense where like, knowing what you're supposed to do means you can get through everything really quickly, but you don't know unless you try and you fail and, oh, this is the sequence. I don't need to go through this whole thing to figure out the combination to this door. When the guy's chasing me, I can run up and immediately type in the code, now I'm through. Like, stuff like that could easily have been in this movie, and I get that that's a different idea.
Or they know where the keys are for this door.
Right, it's in this drawer, and it's in this drawer, and hey, grab the pickaxe off the fireplace early so that they don't have it as a weapon, like that type of stuff. Would have been interesting. Instead, they wanted just, like, different creepy stuff to happen to him each night, and then they keep dying, and then eventually they survive. They win somehow. Somehow they just win. That is the idea.
And that's why I go back to, like,
But none of it felt like they had, like, they weren't learning, doing anything. It just felt like they were just going through the motions. Like, it felt like they were gifted an opportunity. Every time you die, you're coming back. And they didn't use it for any of it. Like, the movie didn't want them to do anything with that gift. You know, that to me, like, this hook, this gimmick, whatever we want to call it, failed. Because they didn't do anything with it.
Like, I like the idea, I agree. And, like, even if we didn't do, like, the repeating thing where it is Groundhog's Day, I did like that it was, like, a new thing every night. And that's what the trailer kind of, to me, like, I thought...
they said it in the trailer, to be fair.
Yeah, I thought in the trailer, like, I was interpreting it as, like, okay, one night it is the kaiju outside. The other night it's just a haunting in the house. The other night it is just the serial killer. One night is just the Wendigo. Like, that's what I thought it was going to be. And instead of, like, eventually it just turns into just everything's coming after them that you've seen at this point. And mostly it's zombies, but also Wendigo, also like a witch or something. I don't know. Which, whatever. But that is my biggest gripe, was, like, the gimmick was there, and I feel like you were still afraid to, like, fully embrace it at moments. And I think they were building up fine. It was the first couple. I was like, okay, now they're exploding. And to me, that whole exploding one is, like, classic gore porn, or just, you know, slapstick horror comedy right there, where it's just like...
Because I thought they were going to get, like, infected with parasites that were going to, like, alien-style hyper grow up inside their bodies, you know, type of thing.
Yeah,
no, they just blow up because of the water makes you blow up.
Which is fine. It's funny.
Actually.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah,
like, I'm fine with that. I'm actually, you know what? I give that a thumbs up. That one element.
And they could have maybe even made that quicker and just have them like, oh fuck, we all drink the water. Well, we just wasted one night. Good job, guys, because we were thirsty. Like, we have to think about these things. But no, I really liked that part, because that reminds me of the, like I said, like Dead or Alive, in all those types of movies where it is just like over the top for the sake of being over the top. And I didn't. After that part, I'm like, I bet you that's how they're gonna kill this final guy here. And of course they did. Weirdly enough, I was like, I have a feeling that's just how it's gonna be, like the easiest way to like do it, or it's just gonna be something. I'm glad it was that, and not something lame where it's just like I stabbed him, or like
because
he blows up,
the ending,
or
she has
bursts
that
in flames.
Realization about the water. It was like the knife pen thing there. I'm like, oh, she's gonna, because it's wet, she's gonna stab him, and that's gonna make him explode instantly. But instead it was just but whatever.
But yeah, the gimmick, I think, is definitely my biggest gripe. But I also kind of just generally forgave it because, like I said at the very top in the non-spoiler section, this movie treats them and us, the audience, as kind of like we're in a haunted house, and like you're going from one end to the other. We have our different set pieces, we have our different monsters we want to show you. And like I said, one of my critiques is I wish it was more like, yep, every night is one different thing, but whatever. Like in a haunted house, sometimes there is nothing like that. It's just like, oh, the clown jumped out this time. Oh, this time the alien jumped out. Oh, this time Jason popped out. Like whatever. Like
I would be with you if it was like the same events, but there's a layer on top. Yeah. Like, okay, now this guy is here is the first one. Okay, now none of the lights are on, but it's the same thing. Like, I would have been there with you for that, because like what you're saying, like, yes, would be a fun like haunted house to walk through, or a roller coaster type of ride. And Supermassive made 2 haunted roller coaster VR video games. Right. I guess maybe for that reason. But my problem is that like as a story, our characters then do nothing because of that. Yeah. Because they don't. And that's know where what to
that
do.
to me
and
feels more roller coaster through it that
not
way.
Knowing what to do, and they just survive. Like, it is a trope, to my knowledge of horror movies, that not everyone's gonna make it. Obviously, you're not expecting everyone to make it. You're assuming not everyone's going to make it. In this movie, maybe because the game made it possible for everyone to live, they do all live. Like, oh, nice. You know what I mean?
I actually really liked the ending,
but
though,
it felt like we
that
just
they
lucked
came out
into
of the.
That.
It did feel like. I did like that, like they showed that cross that we saw at the very, like the first thing they saw really before the house. Like it pans over, and it's just a classic kind of imagery there of like zombie movies or whatnot, the dead marker, rise. Yeah. And it's a go-to, and it works every time. It's sick. I mean, yeah, I agree with you. It kind of feels lucked out, or it's just like, basically at the end, they're like, guys, this is the last night. Shit, we better lock in. All right. And then they lock the fuck in and they get it done. Like, you know what I mean? That's what it felt like they did, where they're like, what if we actually did just stay together? Like we've been pitching and that's
something that would
here
have
and there
in a regular horror movie that has 10 guys and we're down to the final 5. Because now they know what's going on. So like, I don't know. To me, wasted potential leading up to that. But locking in, I mean, I feel like that would be me, right? Because I would live. I would survive
right.
in any of these situations.
I feel like if I'm going to die, it would happen like in a horror movie sense. I'd either be one of the first, like right away, but if I do get to the end, it's because I ran as far as I can. Like I trust myself in a flight or fight situation that I will out sprint most things. If it's like a mythical monster,
leave all your friends behind.
I'm getting help. When they said we need to get help, that honestly would have been low key me.
No, that was the smart move. Obviously,
that would have been me.
That idea.
I was like, yeah, actually, floor it.
I would have stayed. I would have stayed put.
I'm like, considering that we already woke up from the dead, I'd be like, yeah, definitely getting out of there. Actually, while we're on that, because I was thinking about this during the movie, and this happens in every horror movie. Like, if you watch any type of horror movie involving teenagers or whatever, getting into like a haunted house situation or just like Jeepers Creepers situation, we are in the middle of nowhere. We're in this situation. What is like in this movie specifically? What would be the point where you're like, I'm done? Like, I'm definitely leaving. Like, it's because, there's like in horror movies, sometimes it's really obvious where it's like they should have left here and they didn't. What would have been like at this point in this movie in particular would have been like, guys, I think we should just leave.
When they showed up and no one was there. That was my first. They're like, all right, so just leave. Clearly there's no one here. But whatever. No, to really answer your question, when the dude was fucking around with their Jeep, I would have been like, well, he's not going to be able to run me over because I can laterally get out of the way of the Jeep. And then I would, I don't know, fuck him up. But again, I'm saying all that as someone that probably couldn't do that for real. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it was but someone's like, all right, so someone's just fucking with us. And there's, again, 5 of us. Maybe I have this, like, unionized, like, we're the stronger
army.
In
numbers.
Some of us are going to die mentality and, like, fuck it. But, like, everyone fuck him up.
Because, like,
fuck up the guy in the Jeep and then leave.
And, like, yeah, for me, I'm kind of there. For me, at one point, I'm like, on the one hand, if I wasn't Clover, if I was anyone but Clover, as soon as she tells me, she goes and talks to this creepy guy at the gas station. As soon as she tells me, oh yeah, they said everyone goes missing at this spot, I'll be like, good, we're going to leave and tell our parents or the police or somebody.
She don't have any parents, remember?
That's right. That's fair. I have parents.
These are all
though.
a bunch of college kids who are like.
I have parents. They made a joke about my mom or something earlier, and like, so I definitely have parents.
Sure.
But also the one which is I think is a cool like kind of black omen, I guess you can call it. Is that you could see the names and like it gets worse and worse. I thought that was a cool little like. That's definitely at that point.
Like,
if you get to that point,
that they was worse every single time.
Yeah. I'm like that at that point. That's definitely like you need a GTFO because like
I also wouldn't have written in the book.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have written the book.
Maybe not in there. If it was like on the top of a mountain, I've seen like ones where you sign them.
Okay, I'm not talking about on the top of a mountain. I'm talking about in this house that no one's there for. I would be like, I guess we're staying here.
Or the giant skull clock, hourglass thing. That would be sick to have in like your personal home, but like in a abandoned place.
Flips over would be awesome.
Like in an abandoned place. Yeah, 100% would leave.
Another issue I have with this movie is this arbitrary rule that we don't even know for a fact was enforceable of like one of you has to die in order for it to stop. Says the guy who's running this, but like, okay. Well, it didn't happen. I get it, he died, but like,
did he though?
That's not what that meant. Well, no, because he's whistling at the end and snowy cabin. I don't know if that's supposed to be the game.
I think it's loosely Until Dawn, or it could just be like, it could be a potential sequel, or to me it's like the Twilight. I mean, that's what Until Dawn kind of is, and Black Mirror we mentioned earlier. It's just the Twilight Zone, where it's like everything could be in the same universe, but not. You know what I mean? It's just a tall tale. In this one instance, which I've always dug as a concept. I like that, like things can be. It's even like Cloverfield, like we were talking about Cloverfield earlier. Cloverfield, I put in the same kind of. I know they try to connect them, but I put in my head.
They're also connected in the like. Oh, this movie is this movie. The space movie is gonna suck. What if we film a couple little things, slap Cloverfield on it, pitch it to Netflix, and advertise it during the Super Bowl? And then 10 Cloverfield Lane was not supposed to be a Cloverfield movie either. It was having trouble. And like J.J. Abrams came in and be like, what if we put the Clover monster in it at the end? But I understand what you're saying. And I like, here's the thing, because I like that concept. I like, these are all connected, but like how? But how? Like,
or if they're not directly, but just like it's a world of misfortune. You know, it's just irony happens in this world. But things I liked though. I feel like we start with it's when we get into like it's tough when you go from non-spoilers to spoilers because I feel like it's just a natural habit to be like, unless the movie was like amazing, you're always like, okay, I just gotta air my grievances. Dig into things I enjoyed. For a 15 million or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty standard horror movie budget, give or take.
Well, Blumhouse does that like 10 million or under thing, right?
They did a I think very good job using that money. I think all the effects look good. I'm glad they used practical effects for like the Wendigos. I think even if I know it's a guy in a suit, it still just looks cooler and feels better than it easily could have been just all CG and maybe done badly, and then it's not going to age as well, or at least be as impactful. It feels more real, that way when it's, feels more like it looks physical because it is physical, right? I did like the house, like what it looked like inside. I think there's enough stuff in there that like leaves you like, oh, what is this for? Why would that be there? And then just answer it. That's one of my favorite things in horror movies is not everything needs to have a backstory answer. That's what sometimes makes it scary, is lets your imagination run wild. I did like that it's basically kind of like Silent Hill a bit, where it's like the town sunk under the ground and it Earth
like
is
Silent Hill movie, to be specific.
Silent Hill movie. That it built over it, and I did like that things would appear every night. Like, oh no, there's a house across the street, which just reminded me of Monster House, one of my favorite. Children movies. It was the
first 3D movie I saw. It might have been one of the first actual stereoscopic.
It's one of those like
3D.
just really solid like to me, like what Halloween is all about is just that movie. Just it has all the aesthetics of what I like about
That's a
Halloween.
movie that does not make it evident what decade it takes place in. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that's one of those things where it's like they easily could have not have had the phones in this movie, and like when would it have taken? I mean, whatever. You could look at the car, but I don't know. There, whatever. We don't need to go back into that. But like
yeah.
I had that thought during this movie of like with the phone thing of like and the car. I'm like, well, you could have done it in a way where it's not. You don't need to have these excuses.
You could have just had it set, yeah, in like 1991 and just rented a 1991 Subaru and called it a day, and then had them all just had their attire more
like
80s. But
kind of what I mean is like just don't imply any kind of decade. You just don't have the obvious tells of
yeah.
You know.
But no, I really like the set pieces, and it all looked for the most part like real sets. You know, I mean, I know they shot a lot of stuff that are underground, and it works enough where it does feel like the scale is big enough.
Where they're running around, it feels like you're just running in the same circle because I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at. Positive or negative, I don't know. That's
I mean, I think for a cheap budget horror film, that's what you do. Like, like there's nothing you can do about it. So, or you see movies attempt to make it big and then it looks like shit, or it looks like In the Name of the King, where you don't know how many miles they traveled because they say they traveled far, but it's all in the same forest. Where this, it's just like we went outside, ambiguous of how big outside is. But no, I really liked the setting. I like that. I think the final one they see is like it's like there's a Ferris wheel in the background. There's like destroyed other houses, but I also like that there's just graves. I'm like that. I'm like that's really cool. Because to me, it's one of my favorite things in horror movies is like a good set piece. Going back to a haunted house, like, you know, if you have a thematic element to it, like this is what it's going to look like, or this is the setting, that can really help you, especially on a lower budget, where if you're really consistent or make it small scale, I think it benefits itself to that. Really like that. I actually didn't like, at first like 10 minutes, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like these characters, but I wind up being just, like, not I'm going to say I love them, but just like, you know, this works for a horror movie. This works for a horror movie. I didn't find any of them, like, obnoxious or annoying when I feel like sometimes they try to do that with some characters and it maybe doesn't work in the way they want it to, and it just winds up being like, oh, I just want this character to die. Everyone's cool. I like the kind of, I guess you could call it a twist, and it makes sense for the sake of the games, like you mentioned earlier. They did all live at the end, and like, yeah, it happened accidentally, but at least it was like, it didn't just come down to Clover, which I thought it was going to. Is that like everyone was gonna die, and then she's gonna be on her last.
For those first few nights, she was always the last one to die, and like, okay,
yeah. You know, but what else was I gonna say? But yeah, I feel like it, at the end of the day, despite maybe it not doing it perfectly, I did feel like, based off of the fact that they went into this movie, and this is where from the very beginning I was talking about, like, I'm very intrigued about what they will do, because they could have just retold the first game, but they chose not to, which I think in a way was smart, because I feel like it would, like I said, the game was pretty accessible already, so if you're making the game for, I think, general horror audiences, but for fans of the game, you don't want to piss them off either. You know what I mean? You don't want to, like, completely just disregard, because we've seen that with, like, Monster Hunter, where it's like, we're just going to make our own thing. And maybe I'm sure there is people out there who genuinely were like, that was a fine action movie, right? And, like, they moved on with their day, but, like, they probably thought it was a genuine movie. But we played, you know, Monster Hunter Worlds or whatever, and it's like, this is nothing like any of the game of that game or the games we do know of, or the Resident Evil movies are at least decent action movies, but after a while we got sick of it because it was like, oh wait, they just never followed any of the games.
Just make shit up as they're going along.
Yeah, so in a way, I'm glad they didn't do the plot or like follow the exact plot of Until Dawn or whatnot. There's a lot of Easter eggs. I'm not gonna sit here. I'm sure someone will make a video of every single Easter egg, so you can go do that. I'm assuming
It's
that
been.
someone.
Last time I played it was in like 2014. So like
There was quite a bit more
been
to
11 years.
to Until Dawn for sure in there. I mean, the wedding Wendigos are in the game. The like some of the like I feel like moments where like I said, there's different like camera moments where I'm like, oh, this is the part where you're supposed to hold your breath. Let me get to my main point, which is this movie, and this is something when we grade our video game movies, we don't always make it a. I know some maybe you're more on like should be more faithful to the game. I'm sometimes not, but at the end of the day, we do give them bonus points when I feel like they are faithful, or at least are tasteful towards the game they come from. And I feel like the spirit of the games that I mentioned at the beginning, which is like, hey, it's like reading the Goosebumps book, choose your own adventure. It's like having your friends over, and if you like a horror movie, it's October, you want to put the horror movie on, but you want it to be more interactive. You're playing Until Dawn with your friends. This movie has that spirit in it, I feel. I feel like it has that energy in it where it's like, doesn't take itself too seriously. You're kind of in it to watch them die, and we get multiple deaths. We don't just, not everyone just gets one. We get multiple deaths for everybody. Like I said, it's like a haunted house. It has its scares, and that's what Until Dawn is, where it's like you're going through it. It's not like scary. Like it's not like I actually have, my hair's raising in the back of my neck. I have goosebumps. I'm, actually like afraid of what's coming next. It's more of just like fun, scary. And that to me is what this movie is. So I want to give its flowers to, I feel like this is one of the video game movies I feel like we've watched.
I'm sorry, I hate that phrase. I hate giving something flowers. I hate that phrase.
I'm giving them the biggest bouquet. And I'm going to your local
I'm giving
farmers.
them a big old hoagie. I'm going to give them some food. All
some
right?
Jersey
Give 'em a
Mike's.
sandwich.
No, I mean like legitimately. I feel like some of the other video game movies we've watched, whether we like them or not, sometimes they don't follow suit right to the games, or maybe don't even follow the spirit of what the games are about. And this one, I feel like, is one of the movies that I feel like I'm pretty confident where I'm like, nope, this is the vibes of how the games go. So I wanted to point that out. I think that's my biggest thing with this movie, honestly, is that like I'm like, this is faithful to what Until Dawn is. I'm curious if people who've played Until Dawn feel the same way or not. I remember I think I saw IGN's review that said like just play the games. I'm like, I guess fair because it is, like I said, more accessible.
Sure,
but
I would say that about like pretty much every video game movie. Just play the game because
right.
it's gonna be more of the thing you like.
But that's how I'm feeling. Kind of, I guess, if we're getting closer to wrapping this up, I feel like the biggest thing I'll give it is that it is to me spiritually faithful to what Until Dawn is about, and I think I'd rather they messed up kind of some elements, I feel like, or they didn't take advantage of the gimmick as much. I think it was clever, but they just didn't take advantage of it. But at least the spirit of it, of like what this is all about, is there. So
Okay. I guess maybe I'm a little bit more negative, but not. Maybe it's just because we've been doing so many of these and it's wearing me down. But like when I say I'm a little bit more negative, it's also just like, I don't know, who cares? It's fine. It's okay. I'm not. This isn't like enraging me. This isn't like inspiring passion in me. Like in the Name of the King, Dungeon Siege Tale, or Dead Trigger. I'm like, fuck this movie, and like, why do you think this movie's good, David? What's wrong with you? Type of thing. Like, it's not. This movie isn't inspiring. Like this is bad because of. Like this movie is fine, positive. I will say. You brought up my belief of like a video game movie needs to like actually like be doing the thing that the video game it's based off is doing. What I will say about that is I think that is important for every video game movie because you are basing it off of a thing. What is that thing? If you're not going to do the thing, why are we here? We're here to just because IPs are the only thing that sell in movie theaters. Yes. You know what I mean? But like you took this property, whether it's Angry Birds, Warcraft, Assassin's Creed, Until Dawn, Super Mario Brothers, like you have the thing it's based off of. I don't want to say just do the thing, but like you need to have the thing in there. And the more faithful you are to the game, it depends on what your kind of movie is. Like it's not, black and white. It's not like a spectrum of like better and worse. You know what I mean? It's not like that, but like doing things that are, from the video game itself are an easy way to be like, yes, this movie is clever, or this movie is worth doing at all. Monster Hunter is a great example where it was like, this isn't the game. This just isn't. This is like, yeah, but like it's not. You know what I mean? And it made it worse because of that. I feel like this gimmick was a big kind of failure, and it wasn't really a part of the game. But I can see the angle of like, if you knew the hook of the game of like they all can die or they all can live, and you're like, well, I gotta try this over, or maybe I'm save scumming, which is to reload a save file over and over till you get what you want. Like if you're coming from it from that angle, then yes, you can look at this movie as doing the thing, and the general spookiness. Like, cool, I will give it to it in that case. I just think it fundamentally failed at the one thing that it was setting itself apart from. I just think they failed at that. And to me, at the end of the day, the characters made no progress until they decided to, like you said, lock in, which they did not need this gimmick for. They just didn't need this gimmick for. So it failed on that. But like, yeah, I mean, we're gonna go into like, I guess we got to give it a score, a grade on our curve here,
a ranking.
But
3 different ways of saying that.
Tier. yeah, whatever. A rank. S rank as we named this channel basically after this idea, and we still don't know what to call it. I will say I've said fine positive many times. I don't dislike this movie. I wasn't also expecting much out of this movie. That trailer that made it like, oh yeah, they come back. I'm like, oh, that's clever. And then like I said at the beginning of this episode, realizing, oh wait, what does that mean though? That's not what the game is.
I think the ceiling of this movie definitely, I feel like I think going in, maybe it was, I'm not gonna say I had high expectations, but I feel like the ceiling had like of this, like how well this movie could have been.
Who knows?
Like based off the gimmick, if it was perfectly executed, and like you said, maybe it's either they relived, like it's Groundhog's Day, or maybe it's just every night is something different. If they just
but then show all those goddamn nights, because the most interesting ones were in the montage on the phone.
Yeah,
like I'm sorry, but like come on, I wanted action. I wanted action.
Yeah, and I feel like if you
bring this around,
I was gonna say that if all those things are like perfectly executed, like I feel like this could have been one of the better video game movies we've seen, just because if they executed that gimmick. And also I think it would have been maybe if, instead of a all right horror movie, I might have put it in a decent horror movie for me.
Okay. Yeah, to tie this with a bow before we talk about what we're gonna give it for a grade. To circle back, I've been saying, oh yeah, I would have done this in this movie. I would have done that. I would have. I realized while talking here, the horror movie character that I would be in just a perfect little scene here is in the flawed but fun Jordan Peele movie Us, where it's at the beginning of the movie and the dad steps out of the house with a baseball bat and you're like, all right, you want to fucking go? Let's go. Then sees that there's more than one person and they're all creepy looking. He's like, oh, fuck. That probably would be me, where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to fuck you. Oh, God. I don't know what to do now. That would be me. This movie, we need to give it a tier ranking. So folks at home that might not know, we grade things on a curve, video game movie curve, because there's a lot of bad video game movies, but there are some good ones. But there might be good ones that like aren't that incredible as movies, but like related to its relatives here on the tree, falling down from the video game heaven treetop here on the ground where we all sit and sin. They might be better than its surroundings, right? So we grade them all on a curve, and we give them letter grades. S is, S rank is the name of the channel. That's the best one. But then it's A, B, C, D, E, and F, progressively getting worse as we go down. F we kind of leave for like special unwatchable and the like offensive category of like, wow, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like literally, not you didn't make a bad movie, but like you made like a spitefully hateful movie that just wants to make people. That's the kind of the F tier. But really, we're working through A through D, A through E actually, because we actually use E, with S being like A++ type of idea, or like, yeah, this is awesome, this is amazing, but it's got something really cool with it as well that just
Special.
elevates it up
Special
there.
sauce.
And we,
It's,
you know,
you get a
go
burger and
through
there's
the
a sauce
whole.
on it, and you're like, wow, this blew me away. This
I'm a
elevated.
no sauce person personally, but yes, more normal people will understand what you're going for there. Maybe this is the Thousand Islands
It's the
dressing
thousand.
that they use in Big Macs or whatever. I don't know. I've never eaten one. Um, you know, E is pretty unwatchable. D is okay but boring. It's like bad and boring.
More bad than
E
good.
is fine.
Usually.
B is more good than bad. Hey, there's something to like here, but like, man, I wish they could have done a better job. But like, there's some good stuff. A is that basically cream of the crop. Like, yeah, this rules as a video game movie. And S is just one thing about it elevates it up higher. All that being said, I will just throw this out there. I've said fine positive many times. That would mainly inspire classically on the channel a C. I will give it a little bit more, and I will say I will give it the big hoagie sandwich, and I will give it a B. I
Okay.
personally am
Wow.
giving it a B. A low B, but a B, because I think to give it a C is a little unfair to it. I personally didn't care for its genre as much. I love that Silent Hill movie a lot more than this, even though I think we might have given that a C. I don't remember. No, I think it was a B.
I think
Whatever.
I think we gave it a B. Yeah.
I like that concept more because it's a journey versus like someone's killing us a lot type of like horror movie. I'm not a big fan of. So I'm going in with that. So I need to give it a little like what's there. There's something there. It's just they needed to change a little bit more. No pun intended. And butterfly effect this into a better film. But that's not to say this is a bad movie at all. I'm giving it a B. What about you?
What's funny is I feel like I'm higher on this movie, but then like in my head I'm like, I think this is like a classic C. Like I'm just comparing it to just the last movie we watched with Minecraft, where I'm just like, this is fine. Like overall, this is fine. But if we're gonna put in a B, there is one thing that I feel like I think the Minecraft movie is faithful-ish to what its premise, what Minecraft is all about. But I feel like this movie is more faithful. So if in my head, I'm like, I think I'd put this. I honestly would watch this movie way before Minecraft movie ever again. So I guess to be fair,
well, the Minecraft faithfulness is more of just gesturing. There's a thing. I mean, that's literally what Jack Black does.
yeah,
Chicken jockey. He points at a thing and says its name. That I guess I feel like is not as faithful as it might seem, on the surface.
I'm just trying to think. I might have to pull up the list, but I'm not opposed to putting it B because I'm not like it's one of those things. It's in a huge fight.
It's a low B for me. I can easily do C. I'm not.
I need to look. I need to quickly look because I feel like.
Fuck it, D, E even. No, this movie offended me on a core level. This is an F.
Of course, my file explorer is not responding. Okay.
Don't you love when Windows is like, a key critical thing about this just isn't going to work right now, but give us a minute.
Give us
and
a second.
It's kind of going to work. Yeah, Windows 11. Microsoft hasn't made good quality software in 20 years.
I just remembered, and I'm doing this
Halo
to
2
stall for Excel to open here. I remember though, by the way, it fit the movie. It fit the movie. I had a 4D experience with this movie, actually. I went to the movie theater, and it was dark outside, maybe drizzling a little bit, just like the beginning of the movie. And at the end of the movie, they have this nice sunny day, and I come outside, and it's like 82 degrees. It's all nice outside. I'm like, wow, that was really weird. 4D experience there. Yeah, so in B, we have like the first... Not the first. Actually, no, we do have the first Mortal Kombat movie, I think, on there. Ni no Kuni, first Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Dead or Alive.
Wasn't B.
Yeah. I'm looking at C. We have a lot of those Resident Evil movies.
Yeah, comparing this to those C tier Resident Evil movies, I'm like, well, I had more fun with those, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess. But like, this is also going
Lara Croft movies.
I like those more. Man, is this a C?
Angry? Okay, here's a good one. Angry Birds.
That was a low C, high D for me. So
Persona 3, the movie. Oni Chambara. I don't know, man. Like I'm higher on it than you. and like I always want to be nice and give it like a nice ranking, but I'm feeling this is like maybe a mid to high C for me. Like the more I think, I'm like the like it was just fine. Like it was fun. I'll give it that. It was fun compared to some of these other
Yeah.
movies. It was fun, but then so were the
Because to
Resident
not
Evil
have
movies.
the
Like
positive elements, it would be a bad movie, I guess. So like, maybe I am with you on C. I just
because
wanted
B
to
for
like
me is more good than bad. Like at least 60% good, 40% bad. And I feel like this is more closer to like
we had a lot of problems with this
55,
movie.
45 kind of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not. I can hear an
This
argument
is at
for it.
most a 60% good scale for me if I were to arbitrarily give it a thing. All right, I'm with you.
I
C.
had fun, but for the sake of we can just say high C to give it to give it some extra love. But I think this is kind of the middle of the road like video game. Like when more I think about it, the more it just feels right. And I don't mean it as a bad thing. It just is. It's fine, and it's kind of a 50-50. For me, like there is something about like I'm looking at Dead or Alive where it's like that one's memorable. Will we talk about this one in a year from now? Probably not.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. C
I kind of
is.
feel bad, but then I'm like, because I am higher on it than you, but like, but I'm also like de-ranking it from what you
Well,
had it.
again, I
But
just wanted to like like this isn't my kind of movie, so like I don't want to be like I don't like this movie, therefore
yeah,
bad. You know what I
no, and
mean?
that's
So like
fair.
maybe I was over correcting
That's how we kind of are
on
with
there.
animated stuff, like what we've watched. Where I feel like because like some of the like the
I have
Street
respect
Fighter,
for the medium, and you don't. Neither
right?
David definitely doesn't know. David, by the way, isn't on this episode just because he didn't. For the new movies, Dev and I are bound to this oath.
We're
David,
chained.
as we say, costs so much money. Please subscribe and like the channel so one day we can get ad revenue to pay for David's really high cost. He just didn't want to watch this movie, which is fine. Same thing with Minecraft, which I do not blame him
Which
for.
is interesting because I
Um,
know he likes I think horror more than you do. Like he's
Probably, yeah.
seen we've watched horror movies together. I know he's enjoyed them, so I was kind of bummed that I'm like, oh, I would like to
I guess
hear
I liked
his
watching the Saw movies with you guys, but I
hell
do
yeah.
not like the idea
We
of the Saw movies. That trailer for
Now
that
that's
Final
gore
Destination
porn
movie
right
made
there.
me mad because I don't want to watch Final Destination.
Final
I do
Destination's
not like the idea of Final Destination.
yeah. I'm with you. I've seen like parts
At
of
least
a couple
it's
of
cooler than something like Hereditary, I guess. But like it's not something I want to watch. I don't know.
them. See, Hereditary is more my type of horror, where it's more like I'm on edge the entire time. I need to be. It's like horror edging, I guess. Yeah, is the best way to put it. Where it's just like I both want the movie to end, but I also don't because I'm
I
having
just
fun.
want to finish
I just
right
want-
away.
I
I
just-
just want them to.
You want the jump scares. Yeah. C
We
it
gave it a
is.
C on the official Sonic movie. You got your gavel and your mallet thingy? I got a TV remote right here. Oh, I got a TV remote and hey, this was the same year as the Until Dawn game.
I have
got
my
old PlayStation TV. There we
Return
go.
of the Living Dead, toxic
Oh, there you
waste
go.
man, koozie. That could be my
The Toxic
mallet.
Avenger.
Yeah.
On this, we were giving this an official a C. This is the degree. There we go. This thing is like $200 on eBay. I probably shouldn't be hitting it.
You're gonna knock a screw
No,
loose and
no.
it won't work anymore.
Yeah, no one bought any of those. But all right, so cool. That was Until Dawn. The next video game movie that is coming out this year is either Five Nights at Freddy's 2 or it is Mortal Kombat 2. I don't remember if they have concrete dates yet, and even if they do,
Yeah.
it's not going to be concrete.
It's probably
you know what I mean?
fall because you have a gap.
October,
You get a gap
something like
between
that.
the big blockbusters that are coming out, and then
Sure,
before the
sure.
holidays where everyone wants to see whatever. So,
Yeah.
you'll probably
Yeah,
gonna get
for
both
sure.
in the fall. Also, October, September, November. There,
And like
so.
I don't know, like would we by now know for a fact that Silent Hill, Return to Silent Hill movie, I think that's what it's called, is for sure this year? I just always assumed it was because it felt like they were deep in principal photography for that movie when they announced it years ago. So, but that definitely is happening. So who knows? And there's that Street Fighter movie that may or may not be happening anymore that is slated for
Yeah.
next year. Yeah. Anyway, thank you all for watching. As we have said many times, please subscribe. Please, it is down there. Click that button. S-Rank Productions. We do a lot more than talk about video game movies. Devin has regular movies. Sometimes, some people might call them real movies. He reviews those on the channel. We also do a lot of video game stuff on there. I do a lot of achievement hunting, trophy hunting style stuff as well. Please stop by, subscribe, like the stuff. Write in the comments below. Did you watch this movie having played the video game? And what did you think about it? Because I think that is also a key. I want to know from those types of people more specifically than just casual movie audiences. You played the game and you watched the movie, let us know. As we say something at the end, and it's the same thing we say every single time.
Yeah.
So just keep this in mind. So the next episode, you can skip this ending part because you know we're going to say the same thing. We always end the episode by saying, until dawn out.
Until dawn.
I was really trying to think of something more clever to say, and I just said the name of the movie and out. Goodbye.